Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina for a hearing regarding docket number 2020-252T. It's a household goods carrier seeking certification to operate within the state. We'll start with a roll call of commissioners, please. District 1,
Commissioner Williams is present virtually.
District 3,
Caston present in the hearing room.
District 4,
Irvin present virtually.
District 5,
Thomas present virtually.
District 7. I'm Vice Chairman Belser. I'm from District 2, and I'm present in the hearing room. And our Chairman Williams, who represents District 6, is on sick leave this afternoon. I will now recognize our staff attorney, Ms. Dukes, to read the docket, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and good afternoon. This proceeding before the Public Service Commission in docket number 2020-252-T concerns the application of James Powell doing business as A to B Moving and Services for a Class E household goods certificate. This hearing is scheduled for today, Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021 at 2 p.m. We are holding this hearing virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been no objection and no intervention. Madam Vice Chair and other commissioners, the docket is in order.
Thank you, Ms. Dukes. We'll now take appearances from the parties. Who's appearing for the applicant A to B Moving and Services?
Charlie Terani for the applicant.
Hey, Mr. Terani, you're sounding awfully low. Kind of.
We'll try better. We'll try harder. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to have to get a new phone.
Okay. And who is appearing for the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair. Chris Huber here for ORF.
Thank you. Are there any preliminary matters to come before the commission before we begin testimony?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to move into evidence the application filed in this docket.
All right, Mr. Terani. Mr. Huber, any objection?
No objection, Madam Vice Chair.
The application will be marked as Hearing Exhibit 1 and entered into the record of this proceeding. Anything further?
We recently provided the court reporter with a corrected safety certification for the application. The only difference being that the applicant certified that he was familiar and will observe the federal motor carrier safety and fitness guidelines. He had previously said not applicable because he's exempt from having to have the rating. So we've corrected that, and I'd like to move the corrected page into evidence at this time.
Ms. Joe, do you have that? Mr. Terani, have you emailed that to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That will be marked as Hearing Exhibit number 2 and entered into the record of this proceeding.
Madam Vice Chair, this is Chris Huber for ORF. Can I ask for one clarification from Mr. Trini quick?
Certainly, Mr. Huber, go ahead.
Mr. Trini, in that corrected page 10, did you change the response to not applicable for the FMCSR regs? I did. Okay. I thought you said you had changed it to yes, but you changed not applicable. Okay. That is what's showing on what I have is not applicable. We changed the next, well, maybe we didn't change it, but the next question, the familiar question is yes. And I apologize for late notice, but we had it notarized when Mr. Powell got to the office.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all.
So no objection, Mr. Huber?
No objection.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Anything else, Mr. Terani?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to point out this is a three-county application for Aiken, Barnwell, and Lexington counties, so we won't be filing a shipper witness.
Thank you.
Happy to-
Okay. Appreciate that heads up. And with that, are you ready to proceed with your witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, please.
Ms. Powell, we call James Powell the applicant who does business as A to B moving and services to the stand.
Okay, Mr. Powell, would you state your name for the record for me, please?
Yes, ma'am. James Powell.
And Mr. Powell, the court reporter will swear you in now, please. Please raise your right hand.
Mr. Powell, do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. You may put your hand down, and Mr. Torini, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Powell, we're gonna yell at each other so Ms. Wheat can hear us, okay?
Yes, sir.
I've already been called to task for that earlier this morning, so I'm trying harder. Mr. Powell, did you prepare or cause to be prepared 4 pages of pre-filed testimony in this docket?
Yes, sir.
And to be clear, we are referring to a corrected copy of your pre-filed testimony that was filed with the commission on January 28, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any corrections or additions that you wish to make to this testimony?
No, sir.
If I asked you the questions in this testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I move to introduce the pre-filed testimony of James Powell into evidence at this time.
The pre-filed direct testimony of Mr. Powell, corrected January 28, 2021, will be entered into the records as if given orally from the stand. And Mr. Torini, we are having difficulty hearing Mr. Powell. So, Mr. Powell, I need for you to speak loudly. You want us to hear what you're having to say.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
It's okay. It's just we're all dealing with these virtual hearings, but we don't want to miss what you're telling us, okay?
I understand completely.
And Mr. Powell, did your testimony have 2 exhibits, a tariff and a bill of lading?
Yes, sir, it did.
And did we provide the hearing officer in this case, Ms. Dukes, a corrected copy of your tariff this morning?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay. Do you have any other changes that you wish to make to your tariff or bill of lading?
No, sir, I do not.
Madam Chair, I would move to introduce the corrected copy of the tariff filed with this commission in red line, or provided to this commission in red line this morning, into evidence as Exhibit A, and the bill of lading submitted with Mr. Powell's evidence as Exhibit B.
Mr. Huber, any objection?
No objection. Thank you.
Mr. Torini, this will be a composite exhibit comprised of Exhibit A, the red line tariff that was submitted earlier today, and Exhibit B, the bill of lading that was submitted with the corrected pre-file testimony. This will be marked as hearing exhibit number 3 and entered into the record of this proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Powell, what's your address?
My address is 1286 Bacon Road, Aiken, South Carolina.
And we're gonna need you to keep speaking up.
Yes, sir. It's 1286 Bacon Road, Aiken, South Carolina.
Where are you from, Mr. Powell?
I am from South Carolina.
Where in South Carolina?
From Aiken, yes, sir.
Okay. And tell us about where you went to school. You went to school in Augusta, I believe, right?
No, sir. I went to high school in Effingham County, Georgia.
Okay.
And then shortly after, I finished out my last year online over in South Carolina so I could start my job for A to Z.
Okay. And did you get a diploma?
Yes, sir, because it was It was a lot more timely process than I was expecting it doing it online, so
Yes,
I
sir.
went ahead and achieved a GED so I could go ahead and start working.
Okay. And let's tell the commission a little bit about your work experience. Where have you worked in the past? Start from high school and work your way up.
I worked for A to Z Moving. That was for 2 years, and that was starting from the age of 18 to 20.
And it may seem obvious, but what did you do for A to Z Moving?
I learned how to transport and move household goods efficiently.
Okay. And where was A to Z Moving located?
New Ellington, South Carolina.
Okay. And where did you go after A to Z Moving?
After A to Z Moving, I went to work for a company called Southern Cross to do natural gas line safety inspections.
Tell us about that job.
I was a traveler for the company, so I went from state to state doing contracts for the different gas companies, making sure that their lines were safe for everybody to be around and use.
Now, you say state to state. Where did that job take you?
There was North Dakota, South Dakota, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, and Oklahoma.
You traveled the country.
Yes, sir, we did.
And did you have to work independently to do that?
Yes,
work,
sir.
that kind of work?
Yes, sir, we did.
Now, you said you were a safety inspector. What was involved in doing a gas line safety inspection?
It was checking all lines for leaks and making sure that everything was safe. There was no leaks, and if there was, I documented them and sent the reports off to the gas company for them to come and fix.
Okay. And after that job, what did you do next?
I went to Chesterfield, Missouri to start building aircraft cabinets for private jets.
Building aircraft cabinets.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how did you end up in that line of work?
I ended up in that line of work because of my stepfather. He was in aviation work from the time that I was little. So he ended up receiving a job in Missouri and said that it was a good place to start and learn. So I came out there and pursued it.
Okay. How long did you do that work?
A year and a half.
And what caused you to leave that job?
Basically COVID-19, with people coming from different areas, I felt like it was unsafe to be around that, and it was basically keeping safe through COVID-19 and coming home to be here for my other family that's affected by it.
Okay. And when you came home, did you take on other work?
Yes, sir. I received this opportunity for a business, and I decided to pursue it.
And is that because there was a change at A to Z Moving?
Yes, sir. A to Z Moving as a company was getting sold, and I wanted to be the buyer of it.
Okay.
Because Ashley Foreman decided to run a new business and leave A to Z.
Okay. But you're not actually buying A to Z's certificate. You're starting your own business, right?
Yes, sir. It was buying the material possessions that A to Z had.
Yeah. And your business, of course, is A to B Moving.
Yes, sir. A to B.
And that is a sole proprietorship. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. How many employees will your business have?
We will start out with 3 employees.
Okay. And does that include yourself?
No, sir, that does not include myself.
So 3 employees plus you.
Yes, sir.
And is your father one of those employees? Is that
Yes,
is
sir.
that the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's with us here today, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who are the other folks that are going to be working with you?
Dustin and Daryl.
And Dustin and Daryl, do they have experience in the moving business?
Yes, sir, they do. Dustin worked for A to Z as the prior name for about 4 years, and then Daryl had a couple years of experience working for A to Z here and there as well.
Okay. So you guys you've all got some collective experience in moving people's household goods.
Yes, sir, we do.
And you mentioned that you were building aircraft interiors and doing cabinetry work, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do those skills come in handy, will those skills come in handy in the moving business?
Yes, sir, they do, for ability to build crates and dollies to help with certain jobs, and then also if anything does get damaged, I have the know-how and ability plus the tools as well to go and fix said damage if there is any.
And how are you gonna, I mean, you have experienced employees, so I assume they don't need training, but if you were to hire additional employees, how would you go about training them?
I would send them, after watching some instructional online videos, I would send them on the job with the crew leader, for the crew leader to show them the most efficient and safe ways of transporting household goods.
Good. And, do you own or lease a truck?
Yes, sir. We have a 2001 Isuzu FTR box truck.
And I want to warn the AV staff at this time that I'm going to share my screen. I probably should have warned them a little bit earlier, but it is what it is. We can keep talking until it comes up. All right. Is that your truck?
Yes, sir, it is.
And somebody stop me if commissioners can't see this, but I see you've got a truck. You've also got some equipment in there.
Yes, sir. We have a total of about 80 blankets. We have 4 dollies, all the tools necessary for taking things apart, ropes, anything you could think of to make sure the job goes smooth, safe, and everything stays clean.
Okay. And how about insurance? You got insurance for this truck?
Yes, sir. We have $1 million on the, it's $1 million coverage, and then we have $25,000 on the cargo coverage.
Okay. And how about workers' comp for your employees? Are you going to get that
Yes, sir. We'll be looking at that shortly after.
after you get a certificate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And has your driver's license ever been suspended?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have any court order criminal convictions to tell the commission about?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody sued you?
No, sir.
Okay. And any complaints about you to the Better Business Bureau, anybody else like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you're applying for a 3-county certificate, which is allowable, but a little bit unusual. Why don't we explain to the commission why you're doing a 3-county certificate and maybe what your future plans are for this business?
Our future plans are going for statewide authority.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 counties was just to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
Now, I picked Aiken, Lexington, and Barnwell as kind of strategic, so I know that there's a lot of business going in and out of there with people moving, swapping houses, and that sort of thing.
Okay. And if we had to talk about, if you had to tell us about what your plans would be for this business for the next, say, 5 years.
I would be purchasing another truck and training more crew members to keep up with the demand of moving.
And you're confident that that demand exists?
Yes, sir, I am. With the housing market growing and the unemployment rate being under the usual standard, I feel like there is a necessary need. Okay.
How will you advertise your business?
We will go through social media and hand out business cards.
Good. You talked about growing, adding a truck. I'd like to talk about your tariff, right?
Yes, sir.
If we can. And we're going to talk about this tariff that we made some changes to
All right.
at your request this morning, as a matter of fact. So first of all, let's highlight these changes. Let's start on page 2. We changed the charge on the additional man, and it may look like it's $240 an hour, but it's meant to be $40 an hour. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we were going to make sure we got the right one. Thank everybody's indulgence for a minute. Something may have gone wrong in translation here. Let me pull my screen up just a second. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with the commission just to help follow along, because we made some changes, and I'm not sure are reflected on the paper version we have in the office with us, and I hope the commission has the right copy. If not, we'll furnish it. They're not major, but here we go. On page 4, there was a charge for freezers and flat screen televisions, and you wanted to delete those charges, is that right?
Yes, sir, because they're very common in moves.
Okay. And the problem with flat screens is what?
It's just
Go ahead.
they take up a lot of real estate in the back of a truck while we're trying to pack furniture, so we have to allocate a certain amount of that to make sure it's transported safely.
Yeah, but you're not going to charge for them?
No, sir, that's just what we do for the customer.
Okay, great. Glad you could clear that up for us. Now, let's assume that I come to you and you're in.
Mr. Torini, are you through with the sharing of the screen?
Yes, ma'am, I can stop that.
Thank you. Now we can see you.
Good. Let's assume that I'm in Aiken. I have a 2,000 square foot house, and I call up A to B Moving Services, and I say, you know, I got a new job in Lexington, and I want to move to Lexington. Can you walk me through the process of a move using your tariff, and how you would estimate the charges, and then how you would bill me for them, and the bill of lading, and so forth?
Yes, sir, what we would do is set up a day in. Yes, sir, what we would do is set up a day in person for us to walk over and look and see what all the items that are going. We would look at the distance traveled. We would set forth a quote to give you a by the hour charge.
Yep.
And that's in general what we would do. We would see if you needed any packing or if there was any of the additional items that would be a plus, you know, on the charge as well, but it would be a by the hour quote after we would look and examine exactly what you had going.
Okay. And then on moving day, you'd come and pack me up, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
And you'd take the truck to Lexington.
Yes, sir, we would go unload, and then at the end of the job is whenever we would fill out the invoice for you.
And that'd be the bill of lading.
Yes, sir, the bill of
Okay.
lading.
And you understand that you have to have a bill of lading for every move you do, right?
Yes, sir.
And keep them on file because the ORS could audit them?
Yes, sir,
Okay,
fully aware.
great. And do you understand that you have to charge the actual cost of the move, not the estimated cost of the move?
Yes, sir, it's strictly by the hour. If we quote a job and it's an hour or two over, we still have to charge for the amount that we work, and if it's under, then we charge under for it. It's never a by the quote bill. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And you told us earlier that you plan to come back and apply for statewide authority.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you think that might be in the next year, within the next year?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. You had filed this application initially for 3-county authority and didn't amend it because it would have delayed your ability to go to work.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we may just have the commission see you a second time, or at least hear from you a second time.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Correct. All right, well, if the commission grants you a certificate of public convenience and necessity, will you agree to abide by the rules and regulations of the commission?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. Mr. Powell, thank you very much for your testimony. I'd like you to answer any questions that Mr. Huber or the commissioners may have for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Torini. Mr. Huber, any cross-examination?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. No questions from RS. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Caston.
Good afternoon, Mr. Powell.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Just to, I guess, clarify on the application, I guess the handwritten part, the bill of tariffs. I want to make sure that, I'm looking at it correctly. You list piano fee on the application part for $100. And on, at least what I have, dated January 28th, page 4, it lists pianos $275. Is,
Yes, sir, there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. I will make sure that it gets handled.
and just below it, you have a safe moving fee, $200, and I don't know if you intended to list a safe moving fee on this document, or I guess Exhibit A here.
Yes, sir, that completely got off under my eyes, sir, and I will have that amended.
Well, that's quite okay. And I think y'all had already addressed, I think, the additional mover for $40 an hour. Good, you clarified that for me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioners? Mr. Torini, to correct that matter that was just brought up on commissioner questions, do you want to reserve a late filed exhibit?
I would, Madam Chair. I think we may need one anyway, because there may have been a mix-up in what was filed, but we certainly would.
So it'll be a late filed corrected tariff, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That will be marked as hearing exhibit number 4 and received into the evidence of this case. Late file corrected tariff. Let me make my notes here. Any redirect, Mr. Torini?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Powell, thank you for your testimony today. You may stand down.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Torini, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Huber, we'll come to you now.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. ORS did not file testimony in the docket. We did file a letter on February 1st stating that we had conducted an inspection and review, and we were of the opinion that the applicant would meet the requirements of fit, willing, and able as required in the commission regs. I would ask that letter be made part of the record in the case.
Any objection, Mr. Torini?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Huber, your letter of February 1, 2021 will be marked as hearing exhibit number 5 and entered into the record of this case.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And I do have Mr. McGill here with me if there are any commissioner questions.
Yes, sir, if you don't mind, I think we do want to hear from Mr. McGill. Okay, Mr. McGill, would you state your name for the record, please, and then be sworn by the court reporter?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Thomas McGill.
Mr. McGill, do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. McGill, tell us where you're employed and what your employment entails.
I'm employed by the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff in the Safety, Transportation, and Emergency Response Department.
And what is your position?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the Assistant Manager of the Safety, Transportation, and Emergency Response.
And in your position, what are some of your responsibilities with applicants seeking authority to operate as household goods movers in the state of South Carolina?
Yes, ma'am. I have all the conversations with the applicants on the front end. I go and meet with them at their place of business on a site visit in which we look through the application they have filed with the commission, look at the equipment that they have, the trucks, and any other questions that we might see that need to be resolved before we get to this hearing date. And we're there as a person or as an agency to answer any questions the applicant has leading up to the actual hearing itself.
And did you meet with Mr. Powell with regard to his application for authority?
Yes, ma'am. I met with the applicant on December the 22nd at his place of business, and it was there that we looked through the application, talked through what he was specifically applying for, and I saw the truck that we have seen pictures of today, as well as the moving equipment that was presented. And in that investigation, we did find that this applicant was fit, willing, and able.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. That's all I have. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. McGill? Mr. McGill, thank you for your testimony. You may stand down.
Thank you.
Mr. Torini or Mr. Huber, anything further that you'd wish to bring before the commission?
No, ma'am.
Nothing from ORS, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your being here in your presentations today. Mr. Powell, thank you for your testimony, as well as you, Mr. McGill. We will close this hearing, and we will make a decision in an upcoming commission agenda or business meeting. But thank you today, and with that, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.